It all comes back to the power of our customer. You know, we understand them best. We have this superpower, if you like, that brands want.
How many thousand people come in the door?
We get roughly 1 million customers a month.
You are offering a world in which all age groups can exist.
Where is Prada? Where is Gucci? Where's Loewe? Where's Givenchy? The list obviously goes on.
Welcome to the Decode Sessions, the podcast where we unpack fashion and culture and the mechanics behind the world's most influential brands. I am talking Harrods. Today we're joined by Alex Unitt, Partnerships Director at Harrods, who will talk us through what's going on behind the scenes at the shop or iconic destination that I think to many is equivalent with marble floors, green jackets, and just pure magic. There is a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I'm talking about commercial partnerships, strategic decisions about what goes into the store, who gets seen, how that happens, and how we are led to shop and experience Harrods. Listen for a very, very exciting reveal of how it all works. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So exciting. Can we start with your journey, please? So before you and I got to know each other, you were with Tyler Brûlé at Monocle. So you went from Monocle to another incredibly strong brand, which is, well, Vogue and Condé Nast as a whole, which must have been a bit different in the sense that Monocle is obviously more of a boutique publisher and Condé Nast is a huge giant in the publishing world. It's interesting though because you're from a very sort of clear-cut publishing background, and now you're at Harrods, and that's why I wanted to speak to you today, because for most people, Harrods is obviously associated with being a retailer and earning money through the sales that are happening in the store or online.
Yeah.
But you are responsible for a different type of revenue stream, which I think a lot of people don't think about when they walk past. I'm pointing at the shop because we're conveniently sitting opposite the store.
Yeah.
And that is commercial partnerships.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same thing that you did in publishing. It's selling media or selling media,
selling the dream.
Space.
We also have things like, this year we're redoing the lights across the iconic lights across the Harrods store. I don't know why I do that. They are actually iconic. They're not just like
they are iconic. You're redoing them.
So we're making, again, there's a sustainability need to make them a little bit more efficient, etc. But as a result, we scaffold, we hoard, we have to look after the building. But then there's an opportunity for an outdoor ad.
Oh, of course,
so
on the scaffolding.
So you can run ads, and on the website there are ads. So there's a lot of that
just
traditional,
like there is on the Vogue website.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, yes, you have your, I suppose, the other channels that are a bit more nuanced and a bit more specific based on the customer. So that probably starts, with the windows, which is a blend of. It can be us producing or delivering a creative, which brands then play into and almost product place within that.
Okay, so it's a multi-brand
multi-brand approach for a particular category at a particular period of the year where that's most relevant. It could be, but similarly, it could go all the way through to you, Anna, have obsessed over certain products on our website over a number of days, weeks, months. And that brand or brands adjacent to that brand that you've been looking at could use, anonymized of course, but could use that data to then send you as via our delivery of email to you or SMS or push notification. You could have some brand messaging in that mix, which is obviously less here's an ad, but more you, Anna, have displayed certain preferences and or user behaviors, your lower hanging fruit, let's say, for a particular brand, and we can bespoke a message that talks to you.
So let's keep talking about Loewe. Loewe can pay you to create that tailored messaging to customers that have shown an interest in similar products, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, it all comes back to the power of our customer. We understand them best. Brands, we are the beneficiaries in a way, of the power of the Harrods store. So it's a one door to the world of luxury. We have all of the brands pretty much all of the brands you as a luxury consumer would want.
Yep.
In one place. Now, yes, it's 1 million square feet of place, so it's quite hard to shop at times. But similarly, there's so much information that we consistently have, and the customers are consistently drawn back to us, that we have this superpower, if you like, that brands want. Now, if we were a department store which maybe didn't have all of those brands, or the customer itself wasn't quite that sort of, very top of the luxury pyramid, it wouldn't be as straightforward. The door wouldn't be as open, and our ability to monetize all of this, I think, would be maybe reduced.
Which might then be true for other department stores across the world that might not be as iconic or in such an iconic location as Harrods, because I'm thinking that the heritage and the history behind the brand, of course, also plays a role.
Yeah, it plays a huge role in our ability to act as media platform, if you like. Because when a message or when a campaign or when a project, when a pop-up, whatever we're doing, we have 2 million followers on Instagram. We have
you have an incredibly strong brand,
audiences, and a strong brand ourselves. So when you work in partnership with another brand, your ability to distribute that message beyond the bricks and mortar here is that much greater than for some other stores. Yes, that's true.
And when I saw you a few weeks ago, you explained to me, if we just go back to how brands show up in Harrods, and you explained to me that they can either be Harrods by, is that what you call them, or concession?
Or owned by, or concession.
Owned by or concession.
Yeah.
Okay. So a concession would be, let's take the Prada store inside Harrods. That's a concession.
That's a concession,
So that's a piece of real estate, basically, that you're renting to a brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And with that comes some,
some asks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just a straightforward, in you go, pay the rent. It's not pay rent model, is it? But sort of.
Yeah, I mean, every contract is different, but in its basic form, a concession agreement is one where that brand runs a boutique, or a shop-in-shop, people call it. So, we look at the overall, the accessories halls on the ground floor are maybe the best way to sort of present or think about this, which is that, you have handbags aplenty, right? You have leather goods and accessories across that entire floor. We as a business will look at the footprint of that. We'll understand the dynamics of, how many thousand customers a day come in a specific door. What is the footfall and what are the patterns that those customers show us across that footprint.
How many thousand people come in the door on an average day?
I had a feeling you might ask me a question like that.
Are you prepared?
We get roughly 1 million customers a month.
Yeah.
Through the doors.
Yeah.
And they come in through door 6, which is adjacent to the tube. They come through door 3, and you see patterns in that, right? So you have more VIPs will come in through the more privatized entrances. At the back of the store, you'll have
there's
a more
door
mass
that
customer,
drives the most.
door that drives all of that. And so you're looking at all of these things, and our merchant teams are understanding the dynamics of, if you're Prada, where can we, in partnership with their teams, put that brand to foster the greatest success for it? And then where do brand adjacencies fit in? So it's this constant jigsaw puzzle of, where is Prada, where is Gucci, where's Loewe, where's Givenchy? The list obviously goes on. Then there will be a contract in place that says there's a guarantee, if you like, to us as a business that there's a certain amount of trade that brand can drive through that space. And from my perspective,
certain volume of sales, a certain number needs to be hit in order to be in that space.
Yeah, to continue to justify the existence within it, right?
Yeah.
And then there will be, and this is part of the partnerships strategy, if you like, is as part of those contracts, we ask brands, and it is, I would argue, to their benefit consistently, that the reinvestment in marketing, so we ask for an investment each year in our channels, in our marketing tools, to obviously present that brand in the best light with Harrods to our
so
collective
that comes
customer.
with the rental package, basically.
Yeah.
It's a way of being seen. Because I know that other multi-brand e-commerce sites, for instance, work in that way as well, where it's like nothing. What you're saying right now is that nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a very specific strategy behind it. Yeah. And when I found out about the Net-a-Porters and the now late Matches of this world, I found it really interesting that what I saw on the Matches website when I logged on was also not a coincidence. Like that was, again, like real estate space that could be bought by brands, and the brand that spent the most would be seen the most. And the brands that chose to not create any bespoke content with Matches, well, they wouldn't really be surfaced on the homepage.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing that you're describing. I'm guessing you have a similar strategy with your website as well.
We do. The point you make about the brand that spends the most gets the most isn't true in our business at all. Because, we have, and the numbers, they're published annually, but, we have billions of revenue per annum from retail trade. And we don't make billions in retail media by any stretch of the imagination. So there is this balance, and there are three things in balance here that we're constantly checking on and checking in on ourselves as a business at Harrods. Number one is, what is to the betterment of our brand? So you talk about the Harrods brand, the carry of it, the global relevance, the heritage, that brand equity we have in our brand, in our building, in our logo, in everything that Harrods represents. We have to retain that through everything that we do. Two is, we have to then be relevant to our customers at the time that they are shopping with us on whatever platform. Now, if we're just servicing the brand, be it one that we stock, or we do obviously work with brands that we don't stock, if we're hammering them with that message, irrelevant, let's say, all the time, just because there's more money in that discipline, we lose the customer. We can't afford to do that.
And you dilute your brand.
You dilute it. And then the third is, which brands are there to sort of come forward, do dynamic things, drive innovation, present something creative, and pay. That has to come into it as we sort of check those three things and understand sort of what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It can't just be the biggest spender, because it also has to be, aside from making sense to you as a brand, it also has to be what the consumer is looking for, and that might not always be an Audemars Piguet
it won't
watch.
Always line up. It won't always
line up. It
might
be a Jellycat.
Yeah, it right now
passport.
Is a Jellycat toy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back to the Jellycat. I just wanted to chat a little bit about the kind of bigger takeovers that you then do with brands, and I think one that feels quite recent to me is last Christmas, the Loro Piana takeover. So again, what us as mere mortals will see when we walk down the road is, okay, beautiful windows, Loro Piana in the Harrods windows. Yeah. There's more to it than that, right? So they have it's a complete takeover of the windows. What else comes could come in a package like that? I know that there will be an event that you host together with Loro Piana in the store. Was that it's a dinner for influencers?
Yeah, there are lots of things that come into these takeovers, if you like. It's not the most. Takeover is not the most popular word in this business. It's fine. It's what we do. It's what we do call it. But as I talk about those three considerations, when you say takeover, it sort of gives the impression, I think, that
a hostile
sort of environment, which it isn't. So these large-scale projects, let's call them, are long in the making. Is the first thing. So we were working with Loro Piana for 18 to 20 months ahead of that launch date, which is in the case of Loro Piana was the first week in November, which is the kickoff of our festive season, if you like. So the 2 weeks.
So we're in the festive season now.
Season, a little bit different this year, but if we go back to the Loro Piana, it was purest in that sense, and that first week of November was the start of festive. But And yes, as you came down the Brompton Road, it was this magnificent production.
It really was magnificent.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of windows, and then the facade, we had the moving parts, we had illuminations, we had lighting treatments, we had festive elements, and then things which were very much true to the brand and the materials at Loro Piana, and beautifully crafted windows. And so that was, yes, what you saw. And to my point about how we then take these projects globally, we had so much amazing content with these visuals and these videos and all of the things that we could create in partnership with Loro Piana, but then distribute out to the world.
Yeah.
That's your wow moment. That's
so that everyone gets to experience what's happening on Brompton Road, even if they're not
exactly.
there.
And then again, we're beneficiaries of the fact that that facade of our building on the Brompton Road is globally recognised, is iconic, and we can then deliver that with real strength. Then you become a bit more integrated in partnership, and this is key to these large-scale projects at a product level. So there's experience. So we had a bauble making workshop in the exhibition windows, which people could book into. You used the wool and some of the cashmere that Loro Piana sources to create these baubles.
Amazing. And anyone
free as a customer.
So anyone could book that.
Book in,
loyalty card holder or
anyone through the booking mechanism.
Yeah.
And then at the sort of, I suppose, the lower or entry level part of that product proposition, you could buy into, plush goods, soft toys, etc., gifting, and you could have, let's say, Loro Piana. And the other side of the store, we had a personalisation, embroidery, embellishment, if you like, section for the Loro Piana scarves, where you could
was this happening throughout that whole festive period?
That's happening through that whole period.
Yeah.
Then sort of another layer down, if you like, in terms of the integration was truly bespoke and exclusive product that could only be bought in Harrods during that period of time.
Yep.
And we had hundreds of SKUs in that context, which again had been worked on by the brand, our buyers, retail teams through that 18-month period, all landing in Harrods in children's wear, in home. We launched Loro Piana Home at the time.
Oh, wow.
Women's wear, men's wear, the list goes on.
And I'm guessing this has been teased for a while as well, so there's a bit of urgency to it that,
and again,
there's only so many units of this, and first come, first serve.
Yeah, there are only so many Loro Piana buggies, pushchairs. We had only so many. I think we had 40 to sell in a period, and we sold out. Why you would buy, and this has always been a question, a white cashmere embellished pram is one thing. But
well,
anyway,
it's for that person who already has many prams, right? It's not for you and me who only have one.
Exactly, and they're quality products, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But and then at the sort of VIP level, to your point about teasing it, we had ultra exclusive, made to measure, bespoke goods, leather goods level, at ready-to-wear level within the penthouse or our private shopping suite, which people could shop, engage with, understand prior to that large-scale project taking
so
place.
It's an incredible education opportunity that you are offering a brand that is sort of unparalleled to anything that I suppose they could do on their own, because you have so much space and so much, there's so much that can be done within Harrods that wouldn't really come across in the same way, that grandeur or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be perceived in the same way in a single Loro Piana shop.
No, exactly. And what's quite flattering is that if you see what Loro Piana are doing with Bergdorf this festive season, they've taken this concept to New York.
Have they?
Again, where, there's facade and there's lighting treatment and there's this integrated approach. And that, to me is great. And that's really good for the future of retail media across, department stores and beyond, is that, we've hopefully started, these things have existed for many, many years, the idea of the large scale project and facades, etc. But I'm hoping that the true integration of it all, the real detail, it not just being windows or something that's presented on a facade. Not
just a takeover.
It's everything that customer can experience as a result of it. And we have demands. We have demands as a business on what festive at Harrods needs to look like.
Yeah, I was just going to come to that. There is then also the balance of your brand.
We have to obsess over the fact that, and you or I and many people hopefully listening to this would remember, when you're a kid, you come to Harrods at Christmas. It's a thing that people, Londoners, people in the UK, people around the world do to experience that festive feeling. We had to. Loro Piana is not a brand for 6-year-olds. No matter which way you cut it, it doesn't feel like a brand that day to day is in the psyche of a 6-year-old.
But you had to find. But you had to find a way.
You have to find a way. You know, for a very discerning, ready-to-wear customer, they will obsess over the details of where material is sourced, what the production looks like for some of these fine leather goods and/or, as I say, you know, ready to wear, the wool, you know, all of that, and that story behind how the business is shaped and why it exists, and sort of, you know, that whole essence of Loro Piana is really key to that customer. But similarly, we needed a 6-year-old to arrive at door 6 off the tube and think, I'm excited about Christmas, regardless of whether this is Loro Piana or Harrods or whatever. It is November, December. That I'm excited by this, and this, whatever's happening here, is exciting. And so that's our task that we place almost on the creative teams, who we work with in partnership with our creative studio, is to concoct this blend of what does a Harrods Christmas need to look like, and what does a Loro Piana Christmas need to look like in that context.
It's by no means, and I mean I know this from, you know, our time at Condé Nast. It's by no means a delivery of something from, let's call it, an advertiser in this sense. It's just not just a delivery from Loro Piana into Harrods saying this is what we're doing. It's as you described, it's an 8-month partnership of working out how the best of both worlds meet, so that it's not jarring to your consumer as well. Because if the Harrods brand didn't come into it, then it wouldn't feel authentic and it wouldn't feel real to the people who shop here, you know, on a regular basis. That's also what they're getting from you. It needs to have equal flavors of both brands, basically, for it to work.
And you need the brand themselves to be on to be in the place they need to be confident enough to concede potentially some of those things to us, but also be on that growth curve where they can have the, I suppose, commercial solidity which underpins it all, because these things cost a fortune. You know,
of course.
To create that facade treatment, to create those windows, and to do it with the craft,
all those
and then to get
products.
all the products through, you need to be able to collectively in partnership, you know, basically sell through on that, and you know, make sure that the retail commercials line up at the same time. And we can't do that unless it feels authentic, to your point, to the Harrods business as much as it is, in that case, the Loro Piana one.
What's happening this festive season?
So slightly different. We are working with a brand, but we're launching a little later with them. So it's going to be first week of December.
Is it going to be what I call a takeover?
It's going to be a large-scale project, yes.
Oh, exciting.
That's very good.
First week of December?
First week of December, yeah.
Do you guys have an advent calendar, by the way?
Many advent calendars.
Oh!
Yeah.
Do you have one for dogs?
Depends how pampered your dog is.
She's not super pampered, but she was really disappointed last Christmas because the one I got her had the same treat every day for 24 days.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
I don't think you would do that.
That's one for next year.
That's one for next year. We can work on that together. Going back to dogs and children, we touched on the 6-year-olds that needed to be excited by Loro Piana. That's Gen Alpha, if I'm not mistaken, and then we also had Gen Z, which we talk about on every single episode. We ask the question more or less, like some episodes are very geared towards Gen Z, but I just wanted to touch on it today. The mystery generations to come that are very different to you and I. How does one make sure that they are included in what's happening here so that one doesn't get stuck in one's old ways? And how does one cater to coming generations that have grown up quite differently to us?
Jellycat is the answer.
Jellycat is the answer, isn't it?
The answer, Jellycat's always the answer. The answer is to
Let's explain that to our listeners, because to you and me it's a given, and I have not been... Talk to us about your Jellycat experience, which I know has a queue every day. Do people wait for
So
that?
Jellycat with us have just launched Jelly Air, which is a retail concept. We have unique exclusive products, which is part of the mix, which is driving, a need and a want to be here. But it's an amazing brand story, really, in terms of just creating a trend and creating that desire amongst younger audiences and indeed older audiences. It really cuts through many demographics. But yeah, we've launched that a couple of weeks ago, and the queue is consistent for people wanting to come in and literally buy plush toys, which is amazing. So credit to them. But to your point about those younger audiences, if you were I don't know this for sure, but if you looked at the yield of every square foot of our department store, whatever it might be that speaks to kids, very young kids, in toys, probably isn't the best thing for us to be doing. You could probably put your accessories in there and it would have more of a success to us commercially than
value.
Toys.
Yeah.
However, as a department store, and to my point earlier about us understanding the overall customer need in luxury, be that a beauty treatment, be that all the way through to bespoke ready to wear from the Schiaparelli, for example, we have to have different propositions. We need to have a dog bed available for you to buy. We need to have a singular Christmas bauble. We need, things in our food halls that's more of a day-to-day proposition to uphold everything that we exist to be. And yes, the younger audiences play into that through our need to have differentiation and innovation and things in toys. And that's what I think, we can quite ably manage that, because you say, well, what is hot in Pop Mart's another example of that through Labubu. Again, it's just like, we can work, and the team are brilliant. Our buying teams are brilliant at working with these emergent brands and delivering something unique and differentiated in our context, which is going to pull customers in and keep those younger generations, I guess, considerate of our business or introduce them to our business.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking that, to exactly what you said, for Cartier it's difficult to talk to those younger audiences because the price point is just too high. And surely they need to find a way, though, of doing it for their own, standalone stores. However, that's part of the problem that you're solving for brands as well when they come into Harrods, that you are offering a world in which all age groups can exist. And it doesn't matter if Cartier aren't speaking to them directly, because someone else in your world will. And it doesn't just have to be toys. I did go to I wasn't here last week, so last week was half term, which means we had people visiting, and I put together this sort of tourist experience. And in my mind, for a 10-year-old girl who was here visiting, a tourist experience doesn't necessarily need to be a Big Ben anymore. A tourist experience can be Pop Mart, bubble teas, the Jellycat experience. We went to Selfridges, so we checked out the competition and what they were doing with the fish and chip shop, which had a more than an hour-long queue, and not just to experience it, which I think is the same thing here. But you actually had to spend at least £40 after you'd queued for an hour to buy a Jellycat hot dog, which is incredible, and people are doing that. And again, like the toy department was tailored to Pop Mart because that's what's trending now. But then there's also, of course, like you talk about the food hall, like there will be an experience in the food hall that my 7-year-old daughter will be excited about. There will be some mini cupcakes. Probably last week you had Halloween themed ones. So there are different touch points across the shop. Like in the beauty hall, there will be a brand that my daughter knows about, Sol de Janeiro. Okay, you have a big stand from a big big presence of that brand. So actually Cartier is being helped along the way, right? Because there's other touch points that...
Yeah, and if you're Cartier, it's about being there, essentially, right? So building, obviously, the brand equity in the emergent generations.
Alongside Jellycat.
At some point, if you think about alongside Jellycat,
but right?
Partners of purpose, But again, there's going to be a end of school, high school, there's going to be an 18-year-old moment, there's going to be a university, there's going to be a first job, there's going to be a first bonus, there's going to be all of these, for certain now future customers of that brand, and they need to sort of take those individuals on a journey with the brand, which I think is often some brands think of Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whichever younger generation you're looking at and think this needs to be short to mid-term. And maybe that's unfair, but really it seems obvious to me that it's a very long-term strategy that you need to play into there. It's about being there at the right moment when there is relevance and there is something that brand can deliver for a customer.
Investing now and seeing the results of that much later.
Yeah.
I bought my high school graduation outfit here. Still loyal.
There you go.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah.
Has a very, very close place in my heart.
Yeah.
Can we lift the curtain a little bit? Because I can imagine there's so much stuff happening in here that we don't know about, and I don't know what you can tell us about, but you must get some pretty unexpected requests or I guess unexpected shopping experience. Someone said to me the other day, I bet there's loads of people that come into Harrods and just say, I need to decorate my house, sell me everything. From the teaspoon to the outdoor furniture to the TV to the... Does this happen?
It happens, yeah. It does happen relatively regularly.
It's so crazy.
And again, that's one of our superpowers is
because
from a teaspoon through to Harrods interior design, we can, before a house or a home is even built, we can be in there with a client, with a customer, shaping what the interior design of that property looks like.
And there's nothing for that home that they can't get here.
Exactly, yeah. And so you do get that. You get some very interesting things. You'll have some customers who have, say, multiple locations around the world and a preference for a certain sock, let's say. And so there are multiple hundreds of socks delivered to, various homes around the world.
No.
So, yeah, you do get that.
Do they only wear that sock once, you think? But it's more if they disappear in the wash, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they do with their socks, but to an extent we don't care.
But there's hundreds of socks being delivered to different homes.
There can be, yeah. I don't know what the sustainability angle on that is.
No, let's not. Wait, okay. But so there's multiple homes across the world that are, but there's also multiple homes across the world that could be like 100% Harrods. The reason why I thought of this is because I actually used to date a guy many, many years ago before I knew you, who when he bought his home here in London, he was like, I couldn't be bothered to buy the kitchenware individually, so I just went to Harrods and told them I needed everything.
Yeah. And that literally happens day in, day out.
On steroids.
Yeah, it does. And that's not all of our customers by any stretch of the imagination. This is the very top, if you like, of the kind of pyramid and the wealth and the the kind of customer set at VVIP level, if you like. What's interesting in that group is that we curate more than just the things you can buy in Harrods for them. We've become, over the years, a concierge, if you like, to all sorts of things. So you have customers who fly into the UK and they might want to go to Wimbledon, or they might want to go up to Scotland to have whiskey experiences.
You organise that?
Yeah. We have teams that organise that in private shopping. So there are some clients who, I don't know, let's say they want a specific, very rare car for their collection. There's a team of people here who will source that for people.
Wow.
The mantra for us really in that context is anything is possible. Again, that's one of our superpowers as a business. We relaunched the Penthouse, which is our private shopping experience, earlier this year. We used to have 7 suites, we called them, in the Penthouse, which is the privatised shopping area, and it had a central bar and lounge area, etc. And then we've just gone up a floor and 2 floors actually, so we've now built 23 suites split across 2 floors. There's internal escalators, there's a team of F&B hospitality specialists, the concierge, building a much broader lifestyle proposition, and heavily curated and meticulously thought about private shopping experience in Harrods.
Who can book an appointment within the Penthouse?
So it's by invitation only,
yeah.
And it's for our platinum rewards card holders, so the sort of top of the tiers, if you like, that we have within that loyalty card base, are invited in. and it's great.
And you can sit up there, be looked after, and have everything brought to you. And
yeah. There's obviously operational challenge because you're kind of up there on the 6th
can't bring
or 7th
the
floors,
piano and
you've got to get
TV. Do you do that?
Well, it's very interesting. One thing that I think that maybe is a shift in these customers is luxury and brands. Historically, I think there's been this sentiment of, well, you tell me what I need, present that to me, and I will kind of buy into it.
They're more educated now.
Way more.
Yeah, we have a lot more information at our fingertips than we did 20 years ago.
So much more information, so much more discerning, so much sure about what value looks like, what a price should be.
Really? Even here?
Okay. Hugely so. Where it's bespoke, where it's exclusive, it's not just, you can't just sell things on that basis anymore. It has to fit into all of the other things that those customers are knowledgeable about. And so, it's really, really, it's a really interesting space and really nuanced and ever changing completely.
I'm surprised that I'm not surprised that you say that they're more educated, but I am surprised that you say that even value can come into play and that kind of in the top of the pyramid. We're gonna wrap this up. Retail is shifting. I feel like we've sort of lift the lid. Can you say that in English? We say that in Swedish. A little bit to what, to me, is a fairly. I know that your job and everything you've just described to us has existed for a while, but it's not existed for ages. Like there was a day when a shop window, for instance, was just down to the visual merchandising team and what they wanted to show on the day. But there's a lot of strategy and there's a lot of decision making going on behind the scenes, which I'm guessing means that there's a lot of new know-how needed in the world of a retailer like yours that came from a publisher. What do we think that the future, I mean, this is a huge question and it's really difficult to answer, but like based on maybe the shift that we've seen in the past 20 years, what does the future of luxury retail look like, do you think? I mean, maybe also based on what we just said about all that information that we have at our fingertips and being a lot more discerning in terms of the choices that we make. We're not open to being sold to anymore.
Well, there's two things on the retail. The two things that I would think about are, number one is your data.
Yes.
Becomes ever more important. Understanding and that's from both sides of the coin here. That is, how do you understand your customer as a business better to serve them in and of yourself? So we as Harrods, how do we better serve that customer of today and the future based on the data we have? Secondary, how do you then take that data, harness it, build it, shape it in the right way that's then important to a brand for their future within your business?
Yeah.
And the second is around experience. How do you integrate all of this? Because we are heavily, heavily reliant, and you see the difficulties in e-commerce. You talk about matches, you talk about NAP, you talk about all of the ways in which that business has thrived in certain senses, but also really hasn't when it comes down to delivering that success in longevity. We have a building here which is 176, well, the business is 176 years old, and it still exists today as the main driver of our commercial future. Why? Because it's an experience, because it's something to come and do, to your point, and it's a place to shop in a way which is completely different to anywhere else in the world. And that experience, happily for us as a business, that experience is becoming ever more important 100%. To a luxury consumer.
Thanks, but COVID did us a favor in that sense.
Why am I doing something? Why am I buying something? And why am I going to do it in a place rather than just skimming through something on my phone? You do obviously buy lots of things at a CPG, a FMCG level and a mid-tier luxury level through your mobile device or through whatever means. But I think when it comes to the very best in luxury, people want that. People want to be here and to have it,
especially future generations who really, I mean, they've spent so much time behind a screen. So I think for future generations, that experience is going to be even more important. And I think it's going to be a slightly different way in which one has to deliver that experience, because some of these younger generations are going to be quite people shy.
Yeah,
they're not out and about as much as we are. So it's also about making them feel at home, which it sounds like you do. You think a lot about the consumer, but you also think about the brand. And I think what you described as that concierge service, who some might argue is only offered to, you know, the top tier of the Harrods customers. What you're describing about the data and sort of following every consumer through their loyalty card and like what they're browsing and what they're purchasing, that's effectively a mini concierge experience for me as well, because you're getting to know me and you're tailoring your messaging to me.
Yeah.
So that
and
it
we're
fits
not,
me.
But the thing we're not doing is just speaking to you about the things that you know of yourself, if you like.
Yeah.
So it's understanding on across the whole portfolio of brands that we have and or experiences, and that could go from our restaurants proposition to beauty, etc. We can create a picture, obviously an anonymized picture of who you are, and hopefully, to my point earlier about bringing a bit more of that magic back of like trying to sort of influence you and push you to things which you might not know right now of yourself. If that makes sense.
You know what you also did to me last night? So I've been banging on about these ally issues for a while now, and I've been thinking about it for so long that now Harrods is the only place that still potentially has them for me.
Right.
But you're going to make me cross the road after we
just
finish
over there.
here, because on that product detail page it tells me only available in store.
There you go.
So I'm going to have to
Just
go
got to
in.
cross the road. It's right there.
I know exactly where they are, and that's where I'll finish this conversation. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining us,
Anna.
Alex.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. As always, click follow, subscribe, whatever it's called on your platform of choice. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We are Decode Sessions, and of course, please join us for the next one too. Bye.